Hey guys, Michael Evans here, um, creator of Harmony and Chaos, and your host for this episode of The Kingdom. Today, we are going to review episode 101, the Great Mobian Gala. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say this was a great episode. Out of 101 episodes, I would honestly say um, this episode overall was very mid in its thing. I'm not happy with episode 101. My opinion, it's one of the worst episodes I've ever written. With that being said, I do want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, weekend. Hopefully, you all had good food and were able to relax. Doing things a little bit differently today. As you can see, my normal setup is this is not my normal setup. Usually I'm set up differently. I'm not even set up to have my normal musical intro. My bed is half covered in toys and stuff from Black Friday. So luckily I have a king size bed, so I have plenty of room to still sleep. Brandon, I feel like episode one, I cut 7 scenes from it, at least 7 scenes, because there's a lot of things I wanted to do with Cream and Charmy that got cut. I wanted to do things with Fluttershy and Vector that got cut. It was basically a lot of filler, and like I said, the episode for what it was already 90 minutes long. I just felt it was very mid. And I say that because I'm on the borderline of losing my passion for this. When you work 50 or 60 hours a week, depending if you work Saturday or not, getting home at 7 p.m., it's very hard to want to write when you still have to cook dinner and then get up for work at 4:30 in the morning. So there's nights where I have sat in front of this computer for 3 hours and only have done 2 slides in 3 hours. And I've smoked like half a pack of cigarettes, mainly because I'm bored and I can't figure out what I want to write. And it's hard to get back into it when you're only writing for 2 hours a day, if you even have time for that. I don't know. I need to reignite my passion for this. And I'm going to forewarn you guys right now. Episode 102 is already more mid than 101. It's terrible. And I don't care. I'm not going back to rewrite it. So 102 is awful. I'm the first 8 minutes of it, I would say right now, is terrible. Mainly because I don't care anymore. I just want to get the episodes done and out. For an episode that's going to be fighting, it's awful. I will say 102 is probably going to be worse than 101. Yeah. I don't know. So, anyway, I really don't want to do a review of this episode. I really don't. I don't have anything prepared. I don't even know how to start it. I honestly am like, I would like to work on Harmony and Cast today. I wanted to do writing, and I'm like, nah, I'm not wasting my Sunday writing. Nah, don't want to do it. I'm like, you know what? I got a podcast to do. Who cares? Let's just do the podcast and get it over with. So I'm sorry. It's just the way I'm feeling. I'm just not into this right now. Not. So I agree. Let's fucking go. Let's try to get this show on the road. I don't know. It's hard because I know you guys want these episodes, and I feel like I'm being pressured kind of like to get them done. Like, when's the next episode coming out? I don't know. I don't have time to take a piss half the time, let alone write an episode. So, yeah. I'm losing my passion for it. We'll leave it at that. It's not the first time, but it goes through these phases. So, episode 101, the not so great gala, the not so great Moby and Gala. Let's get into it. So, we start the episode off with Twilight and Shadow. Shadow is sitting out on Twilight's balcony. He's having issues sleeping. If you guys recall from the last episode, episode 100, the episode ended with Ophelia and Shadow having this discussion about how Shadow's getting his memories back. And they start talking about their childhood and about their father. And at the end of the conversation, Shadow mentions to Ophelia that he believes that there's a chance that Sonic, Manic, and Sonia could be their siblings. They could be related and they could be their siblings. That's why Shadow's having an issue sleeping, because he's not quite sure on how he's going to tell Sonic, or he knows he wants to tell Sonic, but he doesn't know how to do it. So Twilight wakes up. She gets kicked by the baby. So she wakes up and notices Shadow is not lying next to her. She sees that he's out on the patio. So she goes out to talk to him. Shadow basically tells her why he can't sleep. Twilight basically kind of feels like she's known the truth for a while in her own right. She tells Shadow at one point during the conversation, look, I think you and I both know what the truth is here. But you do need to tell Sonic, and you do need to tell at least Sonic, Manic, and Sonia the truth. Like, this is up to you. It's not up to me. So as the conversation continues on, Shadow has never really told Twilight about his childhood. So he starts to tell her about their father and about how his father shared the same stories as Sonic's father did, which was another giveaway for Twilight. As we would come to learn in this episode, Twilight sensed alicorn magic or alicorn potential inside of Shadow. And she tells Shadow that in this scene, like, she goes, I've kind of sensed it in you from day one, which is why I've pushed you so hard, and why I thought that you have good in you, because I can sense it. She put two and two together pretty much before Sonic and Shadow did. And she even tells Shadow, if you remember, you and Sonic are a blood type match. So we know what, I think in your heart, you know what the truth is. So we go into the opening credits. We come out of it, and Twilight just wants Shadow to like relax and chill and just kind of, she wants to make sure that Shadow is going to tell Sonic the truth, because it is life-changing. And again, she tells Shadow, it's not my place to tell them. She says, but I think you should. So Twilight winds up going back to bed. Shadow, I would like to think Shadow eventually would calm himself back to sleep, but he's having this internal conflict as to whether or not he tells Sonic. And he wants to find something concrete before he goes and makes, tells Sonic, oh, hey, we're siblings. And that's where Twilight kind of tell him, look, you guys are a blood type match. Do you really? She goes, Ophelia looks like Sonic. There's a resemblance there, whether or not Philia has that little streak of black hair like you do with the red stripe in it. She still looks more like Sonic's sister as well. So should come as no coincidence. So after that scene, we go to Sugar Cube Corner. Pinkie Pie is also having an internal conflict herself as to whether or not she wants to go to the Grand Galloping Gala because Manic is going to be there. As we saw in the last episode, Philia, episode 100, Pinkie Pie did not attend the party at Twilight's, mainly because she was afraid she was going to run into Manic, which wasn't the case. But she was not really in the partying mood in the last episode. So we dive into this scene, and Pinkie Pie's having this conversation with Amy. Amy's trying to be a good friend here by checking in with Pinkie, asking her, is everything okay? How are you feeling? How are you holding up? And Pinkie said, not so good, surviving. She asked Amy, does it ever get easy? Does it ever get easier getting over, the guy you love? And Amy tells Pinkie, it will never get easy until you yourself say, I'm done. I'm done worrying about it. And until you move on, you're never going to be done. Until you physically say, I'm done, it's never going to stop being sad. Amy also tells Pinkie, I found peace while coming to work for the cakes at Sugar Cube Corner. And she goes, it was a good distraction from me trying to get over Sonic. Amy also told Pinkie it was me witnessing Sonic's love for Rainbow Dash and actually seeing them together that made it pretty apparent that she could not measure up and that it was over. Let's see. So Amy, Pinkie continues on with this conversation. Hold on a sec. So Pinkie continues on with the conversation, and she tells Amy, look, I really don't want to go to the gala because I can't face Manic. She goes, I'm not ready to face him. I can't. I'm still hurt by it. And she said, and besides, there's a chance Pacific Glow is probably going to be there. What Pinkie Pie does not realize in this moment is that Manic had already broken up with Pacific Glow. And we'll find out why later on in the episode or in the review. So Amy told Pinkie after that, she would tell Pinkie, I really think you're going to regret if you don't go, and at least tell them how you feel. Like, lay it all on the line. Really, there's nothing. I mean, what else can you do? Pinkie Pie then is more concerned over Pacific Glow being there. And Amy said, look, I'll bring my hammer if she's there. And then Pinkie Pie said, yeah, Elijah pretty much quoted, I'll bring the hammer just in case. And Pinkie's like, yeah, as long as I get to smash her brains in. But again, they don't realize that they had broken up yet. So Pinkie in this moment agrees, okay, I'll go to the gala. I do want to face him, and I do want to at least say my piece one last time. It can't hurt my chances. I have no idea what scene comes after this. So if somebody in the chat can re-enlighten me. So after, I forget where it goes after. I think we go back to Twilight's castle. So We go back to Twilight's castle. It's now the next day, so it's obviously the next day. So we're back at Twilight's castle. Shadow is training with Philia, and Twilight is just sitting there watching, like, when is he gonna learn? It's not about fighting. Ugh. When it comes to magic, you gotta mentally train. It comes to like mental thought and stuff. So Tails enters the scene, and he's like, "Oh wow, wow, Philia and Shadow are training. Wow, cool." And that's when Twilight says, "When is he gonna learn that when it comes to magic, it's not about fighting?" And Tails says, "Magic, Your Highness?" "Yeah, Shadow. Yeah, Alicorn magic." And Tails is like, "But I thought Shadow ran out of his Alicorn magic." Twilight's like, he may have had more than we realized. So Tails wants to talk to Twilight about the Kemerald wants to talk to Twilight about the Chaos Emerald radar. He's diligently trying to fix it. He tells Twilight, "I think I have it calibrated, but I'm having issues getting a reading because of all the pony magic that is in the atmosphere. Because again, there's a lot of magic in Ponyville's air. So it's what keeps the Wendigos away. And obviously, as we saw in the finale of My Little Pony, apparently there's Equestria has a buttload of magic in their air, in their atmosphere, whatever. Magic you can't see. So in any case, Tails is literally telling Twilight, I'm getting a lot of interference from the magic, so I can't really get a clear reading on this thing. Keep in mind, Tails already knows that the Chaos Emeralds have been restored, thanks to Philia opening the portal. So Tails is saying, I'm not really getting a clear reading on the Chaos energy. So do you think maybe you could take a look at it and see if you can notice anything? Like, am I doing something wrong? Am I missing something? Twilight's like, we all know how Twilight is with technology. It's not a good thing. Twilight's nemesis is technology. So she's like, I'm not really sure of the technology you're using, but yeah, I guess I could take a look at the readings and see what you're getting and see if maybe I can't figure something out. So yeah, Twilight versus technology. Technology wins. As Elijah says, technology, not one of my strong suits. Brandon Henderson says, I shall destroy technology. That's funny. Yeah, I'm more into science, like chemicals, like chemistry and making potions and stuff like that. And astronomy. So, God, I sound like a nerd. Anyway, um, so we continue on. As Tails is trying to have this conversation, Starlight walks into the castle and is like, wow, fascinating. Elijah says, I can get behind that. So Twilight is kind of shocked to see Starlight. Like, she knows Starlight was going to go to the gala anyway, but she's kind of shocked that Starlight is at the castle. So they start having a conversation. Starlight basically in the scene tells Twilight that Will is not coming because he doesn't feel that it's safe to be in Equestria with all the threats that they are facing. Starlight had heard word from Prince William that Colcago was attacked, and we see Starlight bring it up to Twilight, and then Twilight confirms to Starlight, yes, what you heard is true. Yeah, Colcago was attacked. About a third of the city was destroyed, and about 5,000 ponies lost their lives. Starlight was a little taken aback that Sonic is kind of hesitant to think that Infinite is not completely evil. What Twilight tells Starlight here is, well, apparently Sonic had a conversation on Eggman's ship with Infinite, and he doesn't think he's completely evil. So She said, which I guess could make sense because if you think about it, when Sonic and the girls were under Dark Souls control, under the elements of nightmares, they were not in control of their actions. So maybe the Phantom Ruby, being made up of Soletta and Dark Souls magic as well, maybe that's affecting Infinite. Maybe it's making him evil. So Twilight's like, I can kind of see where Sonic is coming from with that thought process. And we all know Sonic from firsthand experience knows how negative um, the dark magic is. So as this scene progresses, um, Tails tells Twilight, look, you have company. I'm not going to bother you. So I'll catch you later, Twilight. So Tails leaves. And then Starlight notices that Shadow is training with Felia. So she asks Twilight, who's that Shadow is training with or fighting with? Twilight then tells Starlight, oh, that's Shadow's sister Felia. And Starlight is kind of shocked because if you remember, Starlight went to Mobius and she never met Felia. Mainly because Felia was on Earth, living life on Earth. I'm not sure if she was working at Thorndyke Industries. You guys can figure that out. But like, Felia was living her life with Bonnet on Earth at that point. So, yeah. So Starlight never really knew Ophelia, and she even tells Starlight even tells Twilight, like, "Wow, I was with Shadow all those years, and I never knew Shadow had a sister." Like, and Twilight's like, "Oh, it's fine. I didn't know either. She just kind of showed up here, whether it was Shadow's amnesia or the fact that he thought that Ophelia was dead or whatever. He never thought to tell me." So, um, the scene then cuts to Shadow and Felia actually training. Brandon, you got to go back and watch the old episodes there, bud. I'm going to answer your question about Star Swirl and the Pillars. You got to watch the old episodes. There you go. So, yes, they've already been involved. Let's see. And I will say we're going to see the Pillars on and off throughout a thing. What? You guys in this chat. Wow, I missed a lot. Brandon Henderson, I was wondering if Cheese Pie would be canon and Harmony and Chaos, but it's obvious the answer is no. Bingo. I am not a fan of Cheese Sandwich. He's about as cringe as Zephyr Breeze, in my opinion. But we will see Zephyr Breeze because I want to kill him. So keep that in mind. We're gonna see Zephyr Breeze only because I want to kill him, basically. So yeah. Sorry, Lion God, I'm not a fan of cheese. Cheese sandwich, not. Yeah. Not. I just don't like the character. He's too silly for me. I don't like him. I don't know. And it's weird because I like Weird Al Yankovic for some reason. Not everything. I like a couple of some of Weird Al's music is funny. Some of it is. Most of it is kind of like Brandon says, according to the MLP comics, Discord had an ex-girlfriend named Cosmos. No. She will not be in. Zephyr Breeze reminds me of Mortimer Mouse. Oh, man. Brandon says, Zephyr Breeze reminds me of Uncle Ted from Big Nate's. I've never heard of that. Yeah, Zephyr Breeze is one of those characters where it's just no, no, nope. I will say this: there was an episode where Zephyr kind of was funny. I think it was the episode where Twilight and Shining Armor have their brother sister duo or duel. Um, and like the main six are trying to break into Canterlot Castle. I think that was the episode. I'm trying to remember how it went. I think Rainbow Dash, I think he tries to flirt with Rainbow Dash, and Rainbow Dash is like all dressed up, like in fancy dresses and makeup to distract Zephyr as the team, like as the main six broke into Canterlot Castle. I think that's yeah. Which that episode was funny. I mean, he wasn't as annoying in that episode, but like I don't know. He, just as a character, he's just Zephyr bothers me. Oh, yeah, Lion God said Rarity owes Rainbow Dash big time for that. Yeah, but so moving on, we actually get to the part where Shadow and Felia are training. Now, at this point, Shadow is completely demolishing Felia to the point where Shadow's like, "We're done. We're done. You're not a challenge for me anymore. You can. You're not providing. You're not getting anything out of this. We're done." And Felia's like, "Bullshit. I still have more energy to give." I said that's enough, Felia. I'm not pounding you into oblivion like our father did. That's not the way you're going to get your magic back. So Shadow's now starting to realize it's not about fighting. Like dealing with pony magic and alicorn magic, it's not about fighting. It's about mental. It's more mental than anything. Like, and you'll see in this scene, like what Shadow tells her. Felia tells Shadow, but Dad said everything our father told you was wrong, mainly because he himself only knows of the stories. He was never around when the alicorns were on Mobius. He had no firsthand training with how to use the magic. He just knows about it through story and whatever notes or whatever historical records he found. Basically, is what Shadow tells Felia. So he's telling Felia, like, our father trained us wrong. Yes, he taught us how to use the magic for brute strength and how to use its powers in a fight, but he didn't teach us the other arts of it. And Felia gets really upset and defensive about it, like, well, how do you know? You just started remembering this shit when I showed up. And Shadow has to put her in her place and tell her, no, everything started coming back to me when I absorbed the princesses and Discord's magic. It triggered what I had forgotten. So basically, it triggered it triggered Shadow's alicorn. You know, the memories of him training for his alicorn magic and what his, you know, obviously what his father had told him about it. So that with Shadow absorbing that magic, that's what triggered the memory to come back. Because if you remember, if you guys, I don't know how much, I've never really dealt with anybody with amnesia, but like the way it's always depicted in television and in movies or and whatnot, a lot of people say like you can get your memory back if something triggers it. So that's kind of like my gist. I've never had amnesia, so I don't know what it's like, but the way it's described in like television shows and in movies, usually when you have to show an amnesia victim like their house, you show them their clothes, you show them memories, and then like for some reason it starts to trigger their memories. So Shadow having absorbed that alicorn magic and Discord's magic in that fight with Darkswirl triggered Shadow to start having those memory flashes. Um, Again, a lot of little things. I do a lot of little things throughout the series that you don't really think it's anything major now, But like when I decide to like, okay, now it's time to tie that in, there you go. So as the scene continues, Shadow tells Felia, look, I have also learned by watching Twilight and how she meditates and how she. This goes back to episode 16. And this is really what Shadow's trying to reference here. Um, back in episode 16, and it's episode 16, which is the mid-season finale for season 1. It's at that episode where Shadow then realizes exactly how powerful Twilight really is. And it's also in that episode where Shadow starts to respect Twilight. And that episode is also where Shadow starts to look at Twilight a lot differently. Like she's not really a weak pony. Like she is powerful. So in episode 16, Twilight is doing training. Now, keep in mind, I don't want to spoil episode 16, but there's something going on in Equestria. And Twilight is trying to like just feel it out. So Twilight is doing this training where she's kind of just, she's meditating. And as she's meditating, she's doing this rotating thing where her body is just rotating. And as she's rotating, she starts taking books off of her library shelves. And she starts to put these books, all these books start rotating around Twilight as she herself is rotating. And it's in this moment where like her power starts to like really explode and Shadow can sense it. So I guess you could say in that moment, Shadow kind of experiences like his first alicorn thing, his first alicorn sense. He doesn't think about it then because, again, this is episode 16. So at some point, Twilight could literally visualize what is going on in Baltimore with the Baltimore riot. She literally can visually see what's going on there. And it upsets Twilight to the point where she just lets all of this power go and explodes with rage. Just boom. And it takes Shadow aback. Like, holy shit. Like, damn, Silver was right. I've underestimated her. And it's at that point where Shadow just becomes infatuated and fascinated by Twilight. And that's when we start to see the change between Shadow and Twilight. Episode 16 is when it starts to change. So, no, Brandon, I am never going to find voice actors for Shadow, Rainbow Dash, Discord Manic. I've always voiced them. And keep in mind, when this series started, I was the voice actor for every character. So no. My voice is okay. I'm dry voiced right now just because I'm constantly talking. But no. The characters who I have voice actors for are the ones that I want voice acted. Besides, I was told like my Rainbow Dash is very canon, and this is actually coming from Brittany Ackerman. Brittany, if you guys don't know who Brittany Ackerman is, she is pretty much canon Rainbow Dash of YouTube. She was very kind to listen to my Rainbow Dash voice, and she was like, damn, for a guy, that's really good. She was like, that's actually pretty canon. She was like, and for a guy, that's really good. So I'm definitely not looking for any voice actors for Shadow, Rainbow Dash. I actually landed a part as Discord once. So my Discord voice, I think, is okay. Lion God says I know her. Yes, I actually reached out to Brittany on Twitter once. This was many, many years ago. I actually was still married. So this is probably 5 or 6 years ago when I reached out to Brittany and asked her, "Okay, do you mind listening to my Rainbow Dash voice? Like, I kind of want your critique, considering I consider you to be canon Rainbow Dash when it comes to YouTube. And shockingly, she got back to me. She listened to this. She listened to the files I sent. She's like, "Damn, this is pretty good." So for Brittany Ackerman to say that, I was blown away. So I know the very first time that I voiced Rainbow Dash on a Harmony and Chaos episode was episode 48, which is the episode in which the series became a voice series. I remember when my very first line as Rainbow Dash was, "If you want to date me, then get out of the Crystal Empire," or something along those lines. Literally, Will Atkinson was like, "Holy crap, that Rainbow Dash voice was perfect." And I was like, okay, I guess I'm voicing Rainbow Dash. I know Lion God is very fond of my Twilight. For some reason, he's very fond of my Twilight. Yeah, I do agree, Lion God. Brittany Ackerman she's about as canon of Rainbow Dash as Ashley Ball. So I know she gets invited to a lot of PonyCons to sit on the panels and stuff, to do like fan panels. I have not, Brandon. I am way too busy. Did you get it? I have not gotten a chance to see Last Adventure. There's so many, like, I haven't even watched any of Will's stuff, Will Atkinson stuff. So yeah, I'm like, again, I said, I'm working 50 to 60 hours a week right now, the last 3 or 4 weeks. So no, I have not gotten a chance. There's a lot of YouTube stuff I got to catch up on as far as the stuff that I watch on a regular basis. Like Will Atkinson's series. Yeah, I agree with that. Brandon Henderson says the problem with making the rest of the main 6 into alicorns is writing how they will earn their horns and wings. I agree, which is why I'm toying with the notion of whether or not I'm going to do it. Lion God says he feels that my Twilight is on par with Scribbler. I would take that as a big time compliment. I've actually auditioned for Twilight on Scribbler, but I've never gotten a part for Scribbler, which is shocking because I kind of want to. I would love to be on a Scribbler production. So diving back into the episode, Twilight, not Twilight, Shadow and Philia continue their discussion. And Shadow says, "Look, I from first-hand experience, I've seen Twilight use meditation, and I will tell you, her power is insane. Like, she has these mental battles. She has these battles in her head. She, kind of like how we see Sonic using his magic to create the EXE version of himself, or the Nightmare Sonic version. When Sonic is doing training, obviously he uses his magic to project the evil version of himself so he can train that way. So as we continue on, Shadow tells Philia it's not just about physical fighting. Again, Twilight meditates. Sonic has been meditating, and look at how powerful he's become. And he's basically just found out that he's an alicorn. Or he basically just found out about on how to use his alicorn magic properly. So Philia is very defensive. She doesn't want to do the mental meditation. She tells Shadow it's stupid. I don't want to do it. She goes, so basically what? We're going to sit by a bonfire and fucking sing Kumbaya? Is that what I need to do? It's so stupid. And then Shadow gets pissed and he's like, fine, you can get your powers back yourself. And Philia says, no, it's okay. We'll do it your way, bro. Brandon asks, Starlight's forgiveness sparked a lot of negative controversy in the MLP fandom. Do you think she should have faced some form of punishment in canon MLP? She should have. Um, I definitely think she should have. But again, the ponies don't necessarily believe in punishing their enemies. I think Starlight realizes the error of her ways. Like when she tries to get revenge on Twilight, I think Twilight realizes that. God, I gotta fix these glasses. I think Twilight realizes that Starlight is very remorseful to begin with. So rather than sentence her to Tartarus or whatever, um, Michael, I am doing okay, Michael. I'm kind of just burnt out from the weekend. Uh, I'm burnt out. Michael Collins says Cozy Glow would beg to differ, Michael. She was a kid. Yeah, yeah. Well, she was an evil little kid. Let's see. So we go back into it, and as Shadow convinces Felia to do this meditation, Starlight and Twilight are continuing to watch on from the window. And Twilight's like, good, now he's getting it. And Starlight says, is Shadow attempting a levitation spell? And Twilight says, oh, it appears that he is. She goes, I'm really happy that Shadow is attempting to use his alicorn magic properly. And Starlight's like, what? What do you mean by that? And then this is where Twilight kind of gives like a foreshadowing here as well. So Twilight tells Starlight, yeah, she goes, I sensed the alicorn magic inside of Shadow from day one. So basically, I kind of knew he was part alicorn because I could sense it in his powers. And Starlight goes, how though? I've known Shadow way longer than you, and I've never sensed. And Twilight has to remind her, because you're not an alicorn yet. And Starlight's kind of taken aback, like, what do you mean yet? She goes, look, Starlight, I think we both know you're probably the most powerful unicorn who's ever lived. I think we know where you're going here. I think it's only inevitable you're going to become an alicorn at some point. And if you remember, Twilight was Princess Celestia's protege. She became an alicorn. Who's Twilight's protege? Starlight. So, Twilight's kind of been prepping Starlight for the Princess of Friendship role. For whatever reason, we'll have to see. So, as you guys would know, what happens with Twilight. Elijah, you guys are joking. Foreshadowing. Yeah, foreshadowing. So Starlight is kind of shocked by all this. And Twilight has to tell her, look, I think we both know you're going to become an alicorn one day. Like, it's impossible for you not to be. So, you being as powerful as you are, and Twilight doesn't tell her this, but she does tell Starlight, like, that's why your place is here in Equestria, not Europony. She didn't want to really tell Starlight, I've been grooming you to become a princess. Been grooming you. So, as this scene continues, Twilight asks Starlight, do you have a place to stay for the night? She goes, I know you're going to the gala anyway. Do you need a place to stay? Starlight says, no, I already have a place in mind. Besides, your castle's a little crowded anyway, so I'm going to kind of stay somewhere else. We would come to find out what that place was later on in the episode. So, as this scene comes to an end, I think the next scene we come to was Sweet Apple Acres. Hunter has decided to pay Knuckles a visit, mainly because now Hunter, obviously Eggman's thoughts created Hunter. It was Eggman's use of the Chaos Emeralds that created Hunter. So Hunter can sense so I guess you could say Hunter being born of the Chaos Emeralds can sense the Chaos Emeralds. So he's got his powers back. So he decides to go to Sweet Apple Acres to talk to Applejack and Knuckles. Mainly what Hunter wants to say is he wants to tell Knuckles about his abilities, about how he can sense the Chaos Emeralds, and how he thinks it would be a good idea if he goes to find the Chaos Emeralds. Knuckles is a little apprehensive at first, mainly because he's worried about Hunter getting attacked by Infinite while he's out. And he's kind of skeptical of whether or not Hunter really can sense the Chaos Emeralds. But Hunter reassures him that he can sense them. In fact, he tells Knuckles that there's one Chaos Emerald here in Equestria, and the other 6 are scattered across the rest of the planet. And he tries to reassure Knuckles that if he has to if he has to tap into the Chaos Emeralds to defeat Infinite, he will. But he tells Knuckles, look, you guys are going to be pretty busy dealing with Eggman and Infinite as it is. So why don't I take the burden off your team and I do this? So Knuckles agrees. And then he gives Elijah. I'm calling Hunter Elijah. Oh my God, LOL. So he tells Hunter, gives Hunter a little bit more advice, like, look, the Chaos Emeralds are going to react to each other, so never carry more than 2 Chaos Emeralds at a time. Also, because you don't want to get attacked. This way, if you get attacked, you don't put all of the Chaos Emeralds at risk in the event of an attack. So Elijah says, anytime I hear that back, I imagine it as though I'm having this conversation with Walker directly. Michael Collins, they weren't princesses until Star Swirl made them so. Again, I don't necessarily care about the canon. This is alternate universe, so I'm not. I get tired of trying to like wrestle what is canon versus what's not. It's one of the things that annoys me. So, yeah. Cadence's origin is in one of the novels. Again, I'm not getting into argument over origins. Yeah. So as we continue on, Brandon Henderson says, at Michael Evans, do you think Discord should have gotten a 2-parter where he becomes a hero that would redeem him from his bad deeds? I think he pretty much redeemed himself. I think Discord always is going to need chaos in his life, in a joking way. I think Discord it's kind of like an addiction. Discord has to cause some sort of chaos, and I think we saw that in season 9 where he wants to test Twilight, and her abilities. I think that part of Discord is very difficult for him to give up. I think he has to create some sort of chaos just to satisfy his own needs. Yeah, I agree. But that's Discord's character. I mean, the fact that he was even reformed, the fact that Fluttershy was ever able to reform him, and her friendship is what got him to change, is a shock to me. Brandon says Draconiqui are creatures of chaos. They are. Look at how they look. I mean, they're made from part pony. They're part goats. They're part, whatever else he is. Dragon. It looks like. It looks like Draconiqui come from several different organisms. Lion God says, "Don't even get me started on Grogar." So, we're getting off topic again. So I got to get us back on track. So Knuckles reluctantly agrees to allow Hunter to go after the Chaos Emeralds. And then one of the other reasons is, as we heard Knuckles say, "Oh well, the Fox is having issues getting his toy working anyway. So if you could sense the Chaos Emeralds, that would be great. Absolutely, go find them." So, uh, so, and that's how that scene basically comes to an end. Hunter is going to go after the Chaos Emeralds and find them. Elijah also says, not to mention he started being affected directly when choosing not to cause chaos. Yeah. Yeah, he actually got sick or something. I think he was going through an illness where he has to give off the chaos. He has to give off his chaos magic because he starts to go he does start to get sick. Like he has to release that energy somehow. Um so next scene we go to the Tree of Harmony. And this is kind of an interesting little scene here. And I want to get my voice is just dry, mainly because it's cold and dry outside. So I'm losing my voice like I do every stream. So we go to the Tree of Harmony. Sonic, if you guys recall, in episode 100, was told by Princess Celestia to bring the Harmony to the Grand Galloping Gala. Just in case there is an attack. And they are in full anticipation that there will be an attack, whether it's from Eggman or Infinite. They are anticipating an attack. And as a matter of fact, Celestia is actually kind of hoping that Infinite does attack, so they can, get him and put him into custody and sentence him to Tartarus for what he did to Colcago. So Sonic is at the Tree of Harmony with Rainbow Dash. In this scene, it's kind of interesting because we see that Sonic is now going through the same internal struggles as Shadow is. Only Sonic is not aware of it yet until Rainbow Dash tells him. But the thing about Sonic here in this moment is he's just kind of staring off at the Tree of Harmony, kind of like awestruck. He tells Rainbow Dash, I'm in shock at how much I've changed over this past year. It's basically Sonic having appreciation for magic. And he's coming to the appreciation of his Alicorn heritage in this scene. He's in shock of how much his powers have grown. And he appreciates magic more now because of the experiences he had with the being the element of dark magic. So he has a deeper appreciation for magic and how far he's come over the year they've been in Equestria. Let's see. What's going on in my chat here? Oh, Brandon, you got to go? Oh, okay. All right. Good night, Brandon. But I know you guys are having a big time discussion about Discord in the chat. Well, you're not going to have to worry about Discord too much longer. So as we continue on, somehow this conversation turns to Philia. And Rainbow Dash tells Sonic, yeah, I'm kind of like shocked. Well, Sonic actually tells Rainbow Dash, this is how they get into the topic of Philia. So Sonic is telling Rainbow Dash about a story about his father. He's like, I really don't think my dad ever really knew how to train me, Manic, and Sonya properly with our Alicorn abilities, mainly because he didn't have any ponies himself to refer to help him. So, coming here was kind of like a culture shock. That's kind of like how Sonic is. He's learning as he goes along, and he's learning mainly from observation but he's learned what little bit he's learned from Twilight. He's taken into his own training. And during this story, he tells Rainbow Dash that his father, Jules, tells he tells Rainbow Dash, look, my father told me a story about us two siblings that I have that are still alive. Shadow, I have a brother and a sister that I didn't know about, and they're not here right now. And he said, my dad told me that they would find me when the time is right. And that's when Rainbow Dash says, well, she goes, well, what if now is that time? Didn't you ever find it strange that, like, Ophelia, like, looks like you, dude? Sonic's like, well, Ophelia's a shapeshifter. She's always had the ability to shapeshift. Like, maybe she's just and I haven't really explained this part of Ophelia yet, but Ophelia is a big time fangirl of Sonic. It's like her bestie. So she's always kind of taken that Sonic form. So Sonic is trying to just be like, yeah, well, Ophelia's always been a shapeshifter, so you really can't base it off that. Like, that's not her real form. But obviously, Ophelia in her real form still looks a lot like Sonic. Obviously, she's got two different colored eyes, and she's got the black streak of hair with the red, with that red little streak in it. She does look a lot like Sonic in that regard. So Rainbow Dash brings it up, and Sonic quickly is like, nah, that's just Ophelia being Ophelia. And Rainbow Dash has to tell Sonic, like, you didn't realize, like, shape-shifting is a form of magic? Like, it's actually magic. Like, you can't just normally shapeshift. It's dark magic. So she continues on with this conversation with Sonic. And it turns into Rainbow Dash mentioning the fact that, haven't you ever noticed, like, did you forget the fact that you and Shadow are a blood type match? Like, did you forget about that? And Sonic is taken aback, like, and then even Rainbow Dash is, yeah, that got your attention, didn't it? And then, again, we still see Sonic trying to be coy and be like, nah. He's like, Shadow hasn't really treated me like a brother up until more recently, So Sonic's doing everything he can to, like, not accept Shadow as a potential sibling. And again, Rainbow Dash has to throw that out there, like, what if, Sonic? Like, you even said it yourself. Your dad said they would find you, not the other way around. Like, what if, dude? Like, you can get a quill sample. If you and Shadow take a quill, you guys can go get a test and actually know for sure if you guys are siblings. I think Sonic in this moment realizes that Rainbow Dash is telling the truth, because, again, Sonic is part Alicorn, Shadow is part Alicorn. They can sense each other's Alicorn abilities. So again, Sonic kind of already knows the truth. Sonic's fear about this is that Sonic doesn't want Shadow to resent him and hate him again. Because he feels like him and Shadow have kind of they've kind of crossed this bridge now where they're not only just partners and, like, on the same team, but there's a genuine care now. Like, Sonic genuinely cares about what happens to Shadow, and we've seen Shadow honestly give a shit about what happens to Sonic. So, like, this whole dynamic of Sonic and Shadow has changed, or has been changing throughout the series. Plush says, just here to drop the random Sonic merch news, Build-A-Bear announced the Sonic Movie 3 line of stuffed animals, including Sonic, Tails, and Shadow. Both Sonic and Shadow also come with accessories. Yeah. What about Knuckles? They're going to do Knuckles dirty plush. Build-A-Bear, they're going to do Knuckles dirty. Well, dang. I think Elijah summed it up pretty good. Sonic's mindset. I feel hesitant about letting him in like this because I'm afraid he'll hurt me all over. And that's what it is. Sonic is just afraid that Shadow will push him away and that he won't get what he wants out of a sibling relationship. Sonic then asked Rainbow Dash, like, well, how did you figure this out? Like, how did you figure it out? And she goes, well, Twilight's kind of had this idea for a while. And it's really not that hard. Like, Shadow even has like a cutie mark. And if you guys don't know what I'm referring to, Shadow told everybody that in season 1 of Harmony and Chaos, Shadow explained what his insignia is. You guys know what Shadow's symbol looks like. It's that little circular thing with the, you guys know what Shadow's symbol looks like. So I, knowing Shadow has a symbol, decided to make that his cutie mark. In season 1, Shadow told everybody that it was branded on him as a form of identification from the humans on Earth. So, and again, Shadow doesn't remember it. So again, he's just throwing stuff out there. So Rainbow Dash she tells Sonic, look, Twilight has always had this notion that mark that Shadow has is a cutie mark. So, and she goes, it really wasn't that hard to figure out though, Hedgie. And Sonic, basically that's how the scene ends. It's that moment where Rainbow Dash and Sonic talk about Sonic potentially being a sibling of Shadow and Ophelia. So we get into the last scene before we get into the Grand Galloping Gala. And it's a very interesting scene indeed. And this is one of those filler scenes that I needed to keep. I had to keep the Starlight Nightshade plot together. Because moving forward, this storyline between Starlight, Nightshade, and Prince William is going to become a storyline in itself, and a big one. So, again, it's not my story per se. I am following the story as was told to me by the creator, Will Atkinson. These are Will's characters. We sat down many, many years ago to come up with a plan for these characters and a storyline. The one thing I am changing from it, originally Nightshade was supposed to be 100% pure evil. And he was actually going to kidnap Starlight because he himself has feelings for Starlight. So he was actually going to be evil about it and kidnap her. But that's not the route in which I wanted to go because I like Nightshade. And I had a feeling that with the way I was writing Nightshade, that he was going to be one of those characters that it was not going to be able to ever write off of the series because he's funny. I mean, let's be honest. He's funny. He's sarcastic, witty. He's always savage. Like there's something about Nightshade. He always has these comically savage lines that are just funny to me. I don't know. I like writing Nightshade. Exactly. Michael Collins said it best. Nightshade kind of grew on me, and I always thought he'd be more of an anti-hero, which he kind of is. And we saw that in the fight with Aeon, how he absorbed the Triad of Power and became the temporary God of Power and defeated Aeon very quickly. Yeah, so he's kind of like a Discord, where he's eventually, he did some bad things, but is leaning more toward good, shall we say. So in this scene, we come to find out where Starlight was going to stay for the night. She had every intention on staying in her old, if you guys remember, Nightshade made a deal with Prince William. The deal was that Prince William would take Fidget Castle in exchange for Will's house in Ponyville. If you guys remember, before Will became the Prince of Europony, Starlight and Will lived in the house in Ponyville in which Nightshade and Hunter are living in now. So Starlight wants to visit Nightshade, and she kind of wants to stay in her old house because it's familiar. So as this scene opens, they kind of are just having your average civil conversation. She starts off by saying, Will isn't, because Nightshade asks, like, well, where's William? And that's when Starlight says, oh, he's not coming because he doesn't, he feels like it wasn't safe for us to be here. So he didn't want me to come, but I'm friends with the Mobians. I met them on Mobius. So I'm very close to them and I want to honor my friends. And somehow this conversation starts to turn toward Nightshade being in love with Starlight. And very subtly, Nightshade is kind of just chipping away at her, saying, you're never going to really be happy. Like, if Will doesn't make you happy, you should totally leave Will, but don't leave Will for me. You should come back to Ponyville and live your life the way you're supposed to, if that's what you really want. There's not really much to this conversation. Starlight gets a little apprehensive when she says, I enjoy your company, all right? Like, I just enjoy your company. And yes, I do have feelings for you too, which is why this is kind of dangerous. Maybe I shouldn't stay here. Nightshade decides to make a move on Starlight, and she doesn't stop it. It's not until Hunter walks in and interrupts the kiss. So Starlight, feeling embarrassed and like, holy crap, I got busted, decides to just leave and go to a hotel for the night. Nightshade and Hunter then have their own little conversation. During this conversation, Hunter tells Nightshade that he's, maybe this isn't such a good idea for me to go away. Nightshade's like, go away? What do you mean you're going away? That's when Hunter tells him, I agreed. Look, it was my idea, but I feel a duty to the Chaos Emeralds to go and protect the Chaos Emeralds and find them. The Chaos Emeralds I was created from them, and I feel an obligation to protect them from evil like Knuckles and Applejack. And Hunter's like, and if you're going to mess around with Starlight, maybe me leaving is not such a good idea. Because if you pursue Starlight, you know what's going to happen if Will finds out. It's going to start a war. And I don't want to lose you, Senpai. I've already lost Fidget. I already lost one of my friends. I don't want to lose you too. And Nightshade tries to tell Hunter, look, there may be some tension between Will and I, but I can assure you he doesn't want to kill me. Well, he might after once he finds out you're messing with Starlight. So, just saying. Anyway, moving along. He reassures Hunter that everything will be fine. And Nightshade says, look, just like you, I've lost Mr. Fidget as well. I would feel better if I accompanied you because you haven't fared well against Infinite. What if that jackal attacks you? I don't want to lose you like I lost Mr. Fidget. So the conversation just kind of meanders through BS until we get to the very end where Nightshade basically says, if this is so important to you, then I support you. Oh, and that's it. So that's how the first half of the episode comes to an end, with Nightshade and Hunter having that conversation. I'm going to time out. So we go to the next day, and we arrive at the Grand Gala. There's no hoopla. We just go straight to the gala. The first lines we hear uttered are from Twilight. And she says, wow, there are a lot more ponies there are a lot more ponies here than at a normal gala. And that's an important line because as we would come to find out later on, actually, you don't find out until episode 102 of what Aeon has done and why there are so many ponies at this gala. As it would turn out, those extra ponies that Twilight is referring to are the 5,000 Kokagoans that lost their lives and were revived by Aeon. That is why there are so many extra ponies in Canterlot for the gala. And Twilight notices it right away. Like, there's a lot more ponies here than normal. Well, yeah, it's 5,000 more than usual. So you guys didn't, I kind of spoiled episode 102, at least part of it. So anyway, moving right along, before I spoil anything else. So Sonic's like, well, did I say Aeon instead of Infinite? I may have said Aeon. Infinite. Yeah, I meant Infinite. Again, I'm exhausted. It's been a very busy weekend. I wasn't even really wanting to go live, but I want to get it over with while it's fresh in my head. So Sonic kind of jokes around. He's like, well, I guess the ponies have an appreciation for what us Mobians have done. And Ophelia kind of chimes in. It's like, whoa, this castle is so much bigger than Twilight's. Well, we know where Equestria's tax dollars are spent. And just some couple of little funny one-liners and whatever. As we would come to learn, immediately something is fishy. Because no sooner did they land, the guards are already there to meet Twilight and say, Princess Celestia requests your presence in her chamber. So Twilight's like, already? Like, we just got here. Like, really? Okay. Spike. Yeah, Twilight. You know how Gala protocol works. Line up the hedgehogs, get all the Mobians ready for the ceremony, yada, yada, yada. You know how this shit works. I don't have to tell you. I gotta go meet Princess Celestia. Handle it, Spike. Spike's like, all right, Twilight, I got you. So Twilight and Shadow go off to go meet with Princess Celestia. As they're going off to meet Princess Celestia, there's a couple of more interesting parts that happen here. One of the things that happens here is that Chris wants to go have a conversation with Bonnet. And as we came to find out that when Chris was living on Earth, he had a very romantic past with Bonnet that ended mainly because Chris didn't have time to date Bonnet while on Earth because of his life, because of his job at his father's company, Thorndike Industries. Now, I know Chris in Harmony and Chaos and in Sonic X, when Chris used the Chaos machine that he created, or when he used the Chaos machine that he created to open that portal himself, the Chaos energy turned him back into a kid. I think they said something along the lines like, oh, he traveled through time, so it reversed time, and it turned him back into a kid. So again, keep in mind, Chris is still mentally an adult, even though he's in his preteen or 13-year-old form when he was on Earth. Chris's mindset is that of an adult. And we see that with the language he uses. I mean, even in Sonic X, like when you saw Chris in the third season and he got changed, we actually see Chris as an adult in Sonic X. And then when he goes to Mobius, he changes back to a kid because of the chaos energy, whatever. But his mindset, like even in season 3, like Chris's verbiage has completely changed. And he actually is exactly like Tails, where he can fix like mechanical shit, like big time mechanical shit. So Chris is like this super smart scientist, keeping that in mind, even though he looks like a kid. So he and Bonnet are having this conversation. Chris basically wants to know, were you aware that of what Felia's plans were when you came here? Bonnet kind of hesitantly says, yeah, I did know. But I wasn't going to let Felia go off to a strange world by herself. She goes, that, and I wasn't going to she goes, that, and I heard your father wanted Felia to bring you back by any means necessary, and I wasn't going to let Felia hurt you. So Chris gets pissed off, and he's like, I still can't believe like you came here knowing what she was going to do. Like, and you weren't even going to tell me, like you were just going to, go on with everything else like as normal. He's like, well, I guess this wasn't the first time you sold me out, and Bonnet has to reassure Chris, like, I could not compete with Thorndike Industries. I could not compete with your career. We didn't have a good relation. Like, we didn't have time to really date. She goes, the basis of our relationship was basically at Thorndike Industries. She goes, and even if you were to leave Thorndike Industries, your dad is the richest man on the planet. He would have just tracked you down anyway, which is not the way I want to live my life. She goes, and then besides, I met Felia. She said, and once I met Felia, my feelings changed, Chris. I'm sorry. And she's like, part of me still does care and love you, but not like that anymore. And Chris says, well, I guess it's for the best anyway, because I have Amy. So whatever, enjoy your night. So Chris kind of is all pissed off and he walks away from Bonnet. Now, keep in mind, Amy saw that conversation. And we'll see later on in the review what Amy thinks about it. Did my chat die? All of a sudden, I don't see anything going through the chat. I wonder. So, yeah, I don't know if my chat is dead because I got a message saying that my chat died like 10 minutes ago. Anyway, we go to the next scene and we're going to jump right into it. Oh, Elijah's still here. I'm showing 4 people, so I'm sure it's me, you, and 2 other people. But, well, Michael Collins says, after watching the episode, I think Will is being way too overprotective, which is why I think it's pushing Starlight away. He is being overprotective, and that's the OC character in itself. Will is very protective of Starlight. Very. Not actually, I would say it's to the point of controlling. So, yes, he's very overprotective of Starlight. So, we go to Princess Celestia's chamber. And Twilight and Shadow have arrived. They enter the room. Celestia and Twilight share a hug. Celestia tells Twilight to have a seat. And Twilight asks, is it okay if Shadow is here? And Princess Celestia says, yeah, sure. He's part of the team that protects Crusher. It's fine. He can be here. So the conversation starts with Princess Celestia asking Twilight, have you heard from Cadence at all? Twilight says, no, I haven't. Why? And Celestia tells her she was supposed to arrive this morning with Flurry Hearts and has yet to arrive. And I've sent a scroll message and have heard no reply from Cadence and Flurry Heart. Well, I have heard no reply from Cadence. It's kind of alarming to Twilight because usually Cadence would not, she would reply. Shadow tries to smooth things over by saying, well, maybe it's something as innocent as maybe Flurry Hearts got ill or Cadence is ill. And then Twilight says, or maybe there's an emergency up in the Crystal Empire that we don't know about. Maybe something came up. So Twilight, like right off the bat, kind of instinctually has a bad feeling about this. Now, keep in mind, Eggman doesn't have any power. His badniks are robots, so they don't give off any power. You can't really sense an attack when there's nothing to sense. But Twilight she's already kind of has this thing like instinctually, like something is wrong. Because it's not like Cadence to no-show an event. But she does agree that, okay, well, maybe Flurry Heart is ill. So as this conversation continues, the other bit of news that Twilight, or that's Princess Celestia has for Twilight, is that Chicago and all the inhabitants that were destroyed by Infinite were reported to be restored. All of the lives were restored, as was the city itself. So Twilight's kind of taken aback by this. She's like, well, how is that possible? She goes, and Celestia even says, well, it wasn't Discord. Keep in mind, it wasn't Discord. He couldn't do it. He's low on his magic reserves are very low, so we know it wasn't Discord. So Twilight's like, well, we know it wasn't Discord, so who was it? She goes, it would take dark magic for that to happen. I know you're not going to use dark magic, Princess Celestia, so how did these lives get restored? And that's when Princess Celestia told Twilight, look, we've been sensing the Phantom Ruby near Chrysalis's hive. We also sensed we've also sensed the Phantom Ruby in Chicago as well. So she goes, we can only conclude that it was Infinite's use of the Phantom Ruby. And now what Twilight can't understand is, okay, so why would Infinite destroy a city just to bring it back and all the lives he killed? And then that's when Shadow says, well, maybe Sonic was right. Maybe it's remorse. Maybe Infinite really, maybe he is conflicted. And he's trying to show remorse. No, not the case. So this scene basically comes to an end with this notion of uneasiness from Twilight, both with Cadence and Flurry Heart not being there, and now with trying to figure out why Infinite would revive a city, 5,000 lives that he took away. So now we go to the start of the Grand Galloping Gala. I didn't really now this is what I was saying about the filler. The episode was 90 minutes long. I cut 7 scenes. One of the scenes that I cut was this whole celebration and the introduction of the Mobians and them getting their big moment. I cut it. I literally put it in one little paragraph. And then I also stated that Mannix, the DJ Pone 3 band, would open the gala. So instead of imagine how long of a scene that would have been. The episode was already 90 minutes. Had I done that whole Princess Celestia giving them their props, we were probably going to push 2 hours. That would have made the episode 2 hours in itself. That would have at least been 15 minutes. Why? I didn't see the need for it, so I cut it. So, one filler scene done. So the gala opens up with Fluttershy, Vector, and SBO having a conversation. They're actually looking at Cream and Charmy, who are kind of dancing. Now, I was going to do this whole thing with Cream and Charmy. I was going to have a couple of scenes with Cream and Charmy. But again, I cut it because I figured we could do Cream and Charmy throughout the entire season. They don't need to take up 10 or 15 minutes of time here. The episode's already ridiculously long. So I cut it. I also cut Fluttershy and Vector. Fluttershy and Vector were going to have several scenes. The only scene I gave you of Fluttershy and Vector was them dancing right here in this moment, in this scene. So again, trimmed more time off the episode. That's why I said I trimmed a lot of fat that didn't need to be there. That's why I said this episode was kind of mid, because I felt like I had to rush to get the episode out, and just I didn't feel like writing all of that filler into an episode that was already this long. So that night I figured, you know what, I'll give Fluttershy and Vector their dance, and then we can build upon it in future episodes. It's just something to build upon. So I decided to just cut it. Trying to remember where we go from here. So after that, Fluttershy drags Vector out to the dance floor. They start dancing, whatever. And then we cut to Scootaloo. Well, I completely forgot about Scootaloo and Spike in the first half of the episode. But okay, anyway, you guys know what happened there. So Spike and Sweetie Belle are dancing. Completely forgot the other scene where Spike and Sweetie Belle were eating lunch in Ponyville. But during that lunch, basically, Scootaloo, Sweetie Belle tells Spike that Scootaloo is going to ask Apple Bloom to dance. Well, as Spike and Sweetie Belle are dancing, Scootaloo comes up to Sweetie Belle. Is like, I can't do it. I can't ask Apple Bloom to dance with me. What if she's weirded out by it? And I don't. She's my friend. I don't want to lose her as a friend because it's weird. So they kind of are just going through this. She's just kind of going through like a self-induced panic. And I forgot like where it goes. So Apple Bloom comes over. She overhears Scootaloo talking. Like somehow she says, I would have danced with you, Scootaloo. She goes, I'm kind of surprised you didn't ask me to dance while we were just talking. And the funny thing is, Spike laughs. Spike thinks it's funny. So Apple Bloom and Scootaloo go run off and dance. Then they start dancing, whatever. And we go into the Apple Bloom Scootaloo part. Apple Bloom tells Scootaloo, yeah, Sweetie Belle kind of figured you were going to chicken out. So she kind of told me you were going to ask me to dance. She goes, I don't know why you chickened out. And Scootaloo's like, I didn't chicken out. I was just worried that she would be weirded out. And Apple Bloom's like, why would I be weirded out? Our sisters had a thing. They were both into mares. Why would I be weirded out? So Apple Bloom kind of says, I'm not really sure if I'm like that though yet. She goes, I do like you, but I'm not sure if I want to go that way yet. We'll see. So they just dance as friends for right now. I guess one of the reasons why, I guess this is like my substitute to Rainbow Dash and Applejack. I have taken a lot of, I want to try to word this right. The drama that happened with my cast, my former cast, a lot of drama revolved around Rainbow Dash being with Sonic and not Applejack. some of the drama stemmed from that, like behind the scenes stuff that you guys did not know about. So this is kind of like my way of doing Rainbow Dash and Applejack through the two sisters. Now, I honestly think that Scootaloo is into Mares. I think when she grows up and we see her in her adult version, I think she would honestly be, yes, Lion God. I faced a lot of drama for a lot of things. Yeah. And there's a lot of people that think this Harmony and Chaos is cursed, like cursed beyond belief. And I'm like, you guys don't know what cursed means if you guys think this is cursed. Like, I get Rainbow Dash and Applejack are together at the end of MLP. But I started writing this series way before that ever happened. Sonic and Rainbow Dash were married in my series before we ever found out Applejack and Rainbow Dash were together. So, again, I started writing this series 4 years before Applejack and Rainbow Dash were an official canon couple. And Elijah says, you can see Elijah, yeah, there was plenty of drama. Elijah knows the drama in the Discord server and what happened 2 years ago or last year. I almost quit Harmony and Chaos because of it. So it was a lot of drama. It was, and it was just people attacking the series for the series being what it was. And it's like, I wrote this I started the series back in 2016, way before any of the MLP stuff was canon. So you can't, it's like the Sonic MLP fandom is based off of these ships. So if you're going to do a Sonic MLP crossover, the whole crossover started because of the ships between these characters. That's why there's so much emotion in Harmony and Chaos with these characters. But I've gotten way off topic. So that is the basis why I'm having Scootaloo and Apple Bloom kind of have this moment. That, and I always felt like Scootaloo, like canon Scootaloo, has two lesbian aunts that take care of her, obviously. And Scootaloo kind of comes off as being lesbian-ish. She's a tomboy. She's very athletic. She has shorter hair. She's very tomboyish. So I can see Scootaloo being of that. Because of her, obviously, Rainbow Dash. Even though her and Rainbow Dash are not blood related. But Scootaloo, again, has two aunts that take care of her in canon MLP. So there's already some influence there for Scootaloo, which is why I'm going kind of this route with her. So that's the basis of it. It's not for anything woke. It's that. So, yeah. I was heavily, heavily criticized for Rainbow Dash being married to Sonic. Yeah, heavily. So, moving along, we go to the next scene. Elijah, help me. I'm trying to remember where we go from here. I mean, I could just look it up on my phone, but any case, we're just going to go to the next important scene. Oh, so this is where we find out. Now I remember where we are. So, and this is actually kind of funny. So the next scene is we get to this moment where two guard ponies are overlooking the gala from the balcony. As it so happens, these two guard ponies are Infinite and Chrysalis. Now you guys are probably wondering, well, how did Infinite shapeshift into a guard pony? The last episode, remember, Chrysalis put her magic into the Phantom Ruby. So now Infinite can use it So now Infinite could use the Phantom Ruby inside the Changeling Hive, and he can now shapeshift because he has Chrysalis's magic in the Phantom Ruby. So now he can shapeshift. So they shapeshift into these guard ponies, and they're standing on the balcony overlooking the gala. And they're having this conversation, and Chrysalis wants to know where the hell Infinite was when she wanted to have a discussion with him. And as we will recall, Bo Kun said, I don't know where he is. He wanted to fix a mistake that he made. The mistake that he made was repairing Colcago, bringing Colcago back. That's what he was doing. And this is where he tells Chrysalis, I went and I fixed a mistake. I took you up on your advice, and I decided to make my own army. And this army, as we would come to find out, would be the 5,000 ponies in Colcago that he killed, that are now under his control because he brought them back to life with those cubes. So now, there you go. So they continue this conversation, and he asked Chrysalis, is your changeling swarm in place in Ponyville? And she said, yes, they are at Twilight's castle, as you ordered. So Infinite wanted Chrysalis's changelings to basically, with Twilight and everybody being out of the castle, with everybody being at the gala, Twilight's castle was completely empty. She has no guards. She has nothing. Completely empty castle. So Chrysalis and the changelings just mosey on into Twilight's castle, take over it, and there you go. So now Infinite has a castle. Infinite is going to move into Twilight's castle and live there. At least that's what his plan is. And he's going to start his empire from Twilight's castle. Chrysalis confirms to Infinite that, yes, my swarm is in place as you ordered, and it's completely yours. There's nobody at the castle other than changelings. Chrysalis wants to know when they're going to attack the ponies at the gala, because she's getting really tired of being a guard pony. And Infinite said, patience, Chrysalis. We will attack at the right time. Look, right now is not the right time, because look, they're obviously anticipating an attack. And she goes, well, how do you know that? She goes, isn't that crown on Sonic's head? Isn't that one of the elements of harmony? And Chrysalis says, I believe it is. It looks a little bit different, but that might be the element of magic. And she then quickly looks over at Rainbow Dash, and she sees that Rainbow Dash is wearing the element of loyalty. And she goes, you're right, Infinite. They are planning an attack. They are planning. They do know we're attacking. And they are prepared for an attack. And Infinite says, patience. In due time, we will find the right time to attack. Let's let them get comfortable and let them have their fun. I will start the attack when I think the time is right. So now you get this ominous presence. Like, shit. Chrysalis and Infinite are both there. Obviously, they definitely have an attack plan. But what is going on? We know. Now, keep in mind, watching this episode, hearing Twilight say, there's a lot of ponies here, a lot more than normal, knowing that Infinite recreated the Changeling army for Chrysalis, you guys should have already been thinking, I wonder if those are changelings. Not changelings, though. But, like, it should have already been going through, like, okay, something is definitely not kosher here. And I agree, Michael Collins. Running an empire is not as easy as Infinite thinks it is. It's not. I will say having these ponies, being the one who writes, having these ponies run the kingdom is not easy either. Not as easy as one would think, even writing it. So we're just going to skip ahead to some of the more important stuff. I think the next scene is we see Twilight and Shadow having a conversation. And Shadow tells Twilight, look, you feel obviously you're a little more uneasy than you're letting on about Cadence. And this is where Twilight says, well, yeah. She goes, it's you and I both know it's not like Cadence to no show an event. And she goes, but I'm not sensing anything coming from the Crystal Empire. Like, I don't sense Infinite. I don't sense anything out of the ordinary because Eggman, obviously, because Eggman and his troops, Eggman doesn't have power and his troops don't have any power because they're robots. So you can't sense them. So as this scene progresses, Twilight she's just very concerned over Cadence. Like, well, why don't we go visit them in the morning after the gala concludes? And Shadow agrees. The other thing I don't know if Twilight mentions it, but no, she doesn't. She just talks about Cadence here. Yeah, but the animals would not have any power. So, bold of you to assume you can judge those without a heart. But like, yeah, so they couldn't really sense what was going on there in the Crystal Empire. And as we would find out, it was Eggman did invade, and he took over the Crystal Empire. He absorbed Flurry Heart's powers into his prototype Phantom Ruby, and he also would absorb Cadence's, mainly because he had Flurry Heart hostage. So that's how he's able to do it. And then he sends General Diamond to go to Ponyville. I actually forgot about that scene, and I actually forgot about that scene in the review so far. So, but you guys know what happened. So the next scene, Amy and Chris are having a conversation. Amy obviously is very upset at Chris. She noticed the conversation that Chris had with Bonnet earlier was pretty heated, and Chris was obviously emotional over it. Chris basically just reassures Amy that everything is fine between himself and her, and that he basically wanted answers about if whether or not Bonnet knew about Philia's plan to take him back to Earth. And he's like, the reason why I'm upset is because she did know and she really didn't care. She came anyway, and she partook in it. So Chris was just upset about that. So we now get to the part where we get to Nightshade and Starlight. Starlight approaches Nightshade and says, Nightshade says, oh, I'm surprised you came and sought me out, considering how things ended last night. And Starlight immediately wants to talk about it, but she doesn't want to do it at the gala. She wants to go out where they can have some privacy or at least some quiet. Because keep in mind, the DJ Pone 3 band is playing. So they Starlight wants to have a one-on-one with Nightshade just to talk. So they start their conversation, and it came out to Starlight. Nightshade came clean when he told Starlight, look, I had every intention of using you to get my throne back in Europony as revenge on Will. But that is no longer the case. This is where Nightshade tells Starlight that he is in love with her. And of course, Nightshade doesn't really care. He feels like there's nothing to hide here, so may as well tell her the truth. Starlight was taken aback, of course. And she goes, so how was that factor into your revenge plot? Like, what were you going to do? And he's like, it really doesn't matter. I had every intention of stealing you from William. I mean, even now, It's not because I want revenge or that I don't even want my throne back in Europe. I don't want it. And it's not lust. It's because I'm in love with you, Starlight. But it's not my choice to force you to leave Prince William. That's a choice you'll have to make on your own. And Starlight's just kind of like, well, I don't think I can leave Will because he saved me from a mental breakdown. I was going through a mental breakdown with what happened between Chrysalis and Shadow. So Starlight was completely heartbroken because it was Twilight's kiss that wound up breaking the spell that Chrysalis had on Shadow. So Starlight, having lost the baby that her and Shadow had, it kind of drove her to insanity because not only did she lose Shadow, she lost her baby, and then it was Twilight who wound up being with Shadow. So Starlight kind of went through this mental breakdown where she turned evil again briefly, and it was Will who kind of brought her back from it. So she kind of feels this need to give Will a chance. And she is holding on to some kind of hope that the old Will comes back, the one that was a writer who wrote plays and wanted to live a little bit more of a simple life versus this fake where she's got to be a pretend royal. So Nightshade tells her, look, you're never going to be happy if you're going to stay in this lifestyle. You know as well as I do your place is back here in Ponyville. I'm not asking you to leave Will for me. I'm not. That's only a choice you can make, and I'm not going to force you to do it. But if you're not happy, you got to do something about it because you'll head for another mental breakdown if you keep up on this path. It's in this moment where Nightshade sees the broken statue of Chrysalis. And as he looks over at it, he's kind of like, what the hell is that? Mainly because Nightshade himself was a statue not that long prior. So he kind of knows, okay, something is wrong here. Starlight looks over and is already freaking out because if you guys know the history, canon history between Starlight and Chrysalis. And it's far worse than Harmony and Chaos as far as Chrysalis wanting revenge on her. So immediately Starlight is freaking out because it's confirmed that is indeed Chrysalis' statue. So Starlight, being in freak out mode, is like, we gotta warn them. So they head back towards the castle to warn Princess Celestia and Twilight of what they just found. So we're back inside the castle. Twilight and Princess Celestia are having a conversation, I think, of some kind. I don't remember what it was. So somehow they're having some sort of conversation. Oh, they're having a conversation where I think Twilight asked Princess Celestia if she had heard any news from Cadence, and that she was going to check on Cadence in the morning, her and Shadow. And as they're having this conversation, Starlight and Nightshade rush back into the castle. And Starlight very frantically tells Princess Celestia that Chrysalis' statue is broken and she's free. Rather than freak out herself, Princess Celestia says, you know what, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go out and inspect to see for myself. Because just because her statue's broke does not necessarily mean she's been released. Somebody could have broke it. I need to go out and inspect it just to make sure. So as Princess Celestia is off doing this, she told Twilight to end the gala out of safety precaution. Because if Chrysalis is unleashed, she could disguise herself as any one of the ponies at the gala and start attacking people, which Chrysalis has been known to do. She likes to attack big venues and very big events. Chrysalis has always been flashy in that regard. She ruined, she attempted to ruin Shining Armor and Cadence's wedding. She also tried to ruin Flurry Heart's crystalling, or the crystalling. Try to say that. So Chrysalis has always had this knack of attacking big events. So this is going to be no different. So Twilight goes up to the stage and ends the Grand Galloping Gala. She tells Manic and the DJ Pone 3 band that the show is over, that the gala it needed to be evacuated due to a potential attack from Chrysalis. And Manic's like, I thought you guys took care of Chrysalis. And Twilight said, yeah. We took care of her with the elements of harmony, and we turned her to stone, which means she can break out of it. Where Twilight's kind of confused is how Chrysalis could have broken out. Because you would need either the elements of harmony or Princess Celestia's magic. And Celestia didn't release her, obviously. And we know that none of the elements of harmony were used. Twilight knows for a fact that the elements were used. So, maybe Infinite, released her. Which to Shadow, shock, is like, so now you're insinuating that Shadow and Chrysalis are working together? Or not Shadow, that Infinite and Chrysalis are working together? And Twilight's like, well, it's possible. I mean, the Phantom Ruby is obviously capable of bringing the reviving Colcago and bringing back all the ponies there. So why couldn't it release Chrysalis from her statue? So during this conversation, Felia, Spike and Felia come over to talk to Twilight about what's going on. Felia tells Spike, or not Felia, Twilight tells Spike, I'm going to get you guys a chariot, a flying chariot. I want you and Felia, and Felia offers Bonnet. She goes, I want you guys to take the children home. I want you guys to get to we'll drop you guys off the castle. Make sure that the Cutie Mark Crusaders get home. And she goes, I just basically want you guys to get to Ponyville. Twilight doesn't understand or realize that she's sending the children to Ponyville. And we know who's in Ponyville. Imagine what's going to go. Imagine the trauma Cream is going to go through. So we're going to see. So we already are starting to see this is going to be very bad for the Twilight sending these kids away and sending Spike away with the Cutie Mark Crusaders back to Ponyville to her castle. So already these scenes are being set for 102. So as the insanity continues here, Starlight and Prince William and Nightshade, they get into this massive fight in which Starlight is just fed up with both of them, and she storms off. And when she storms off past Chrysalis and Infinite, who are still standing up on that balcony up there overlooking the gala. They walk, Prince William and Starlight walk right by Chrysalis and Infinite. And we actually hear Prince William and Starlight's argument as you're viewing Chrysalis and Infinite as the two guard ponies. And Chrysalis is just chomping at the bit. It is taking everything she has to not kill Starlight right now. To the point where Infinite's like, Chrysalis, go back to Ponyville now. Do not blow our cover. And he's kind of whispering this, like, don't do it. And Chrysalis is like, I want to taste her blood. And he's like, go. And Infinite's like, get out. Go to Ponyville now, before you blow our cover. And Chrysalis reluctantly agrees. So, again, the big thing to take away from the Starlight and Prince William argument, and that's why I'm saying this is why this is going to be so important of a story now moving forward, why these little pieces, I could not leave these pieces out of this episode. I actually originally planned way worse. I actually was going to have Starlight and Nightshade go up to one of the royal suites, one of the guest bedrooms, and actually do the bada bing, bada boom. And Will was going to walk in on it. Originally, that's what I was going to do. But I elected to not go that route and went with the more innocent PG route. So, yeah, it was going to be way worse. But I want to slow burn it. Michael's like, why did you scrap it? I'm trying to write a little bit. Again, I say PG, and yet I got Felia dropping F-bombs, which is part of Felia's character. So, again, I didn't want to cross that kind of line. It wasn't going to, like, voice acting wise, it wasn't going to cross the line. It was going to be just Will walking in on them doing it. PG. So in any case, but I changed it. I made it a little more innocent. So there you go. So the original scene was supposed to be that. But went more PG route. But the important takeaway of this part of the argument is Starlight tells Prince William that she feels more safe around Nightshade than she does Will right now, which is the big takeaway. So then Infinite is just fucking tired of it. He is so sick of it. He's like done. He's done listening to Prince William and Starlight have their fight, to the point where he's like, well, you two idiots, shut up. I'm trying to concentrate here. And I got to listen to you two idiots bicker on. And Prince William says, how dare you, you lowly guard, talk to me like that? I'm royalty. And Starlight storms off. Again, this is Prince William just being facetious in this moment. And he's on a power trip, whatever. So Starlight's like, whatever. She storms off and she apologizes to Infinite / what she thinks is a guard, a royal guard. And she... Michael Collins, it's I gotta answer this question. I know Celestia doesn't act like that, but keep in mind, Michael, Prince William just found he's already pissed off that Starlight went to this gala when he said it's not safe to go there. I'm not being controlling. I don't want you to go because it's not safe. And now, like, he finds Starlight with Nightshade, and she just admitted that she would rather be protected by Nightshade than him. So he's a little upset. So the fact that this royal nobody guard has the audacity to talk to a prince like that, yeah, he got a little pissy. He's pissed off to begin with. So I could see why Prince William would act like that. He's pissed that Starlight even went. Because if you remember, when Prince William first arrived at the gala, Princess Celestia tells him to enjoy himself. And he's like, you know what? I am going to enjoy myself. I'm going to have a cup. He drank a whole glass of Dom Pérignon in like one gulp. He's like, see, I'm enjoying myself. When's the bloodbath? So he kind of already knows. So again, Starlight storms back off toward the gala, which is going through an evacuation. At this point, Twilight has ordered an evacuation. So Tempest, after this, Tempest and Grubber are just doing like a normal walkthrough. They're making sure there's no pony upstairs in on the royal levels where the guest bedrooms are, where the royalty will stay, or like where some of the more elite guests are staying. So she just wants to make sure everything is secure. So her and Grubber are walking down on the same floor. They turn the corner and they see Infinite. Now, keep in mind, Infinite is still in the guard form. And Tempest kind of shocks Infinite here. She's like, God. And he's like, oh, crap. And he drops his spear on the floor and everything. And he knows that Tempest is like in charge of the military or in charge of security. She's kind of like Princess Celestia's head of security for the gala. So he kind of is aware of this. So he's kind of starting like, oh, crap. Yeah, yes, ma'am. Tempest tells him at ease, look, we're evacuating the castle. Could you please assist in the evacuation at the front gate? And so, so Infinite kind of is like, well, I guess I probably should. So he kind of trots off down the stairs to go do what Tempest orders. And we see Grubber kind of like, she scared the crap out of that guy. So, yeah, so it was a little comedic moment there. It was kind of like borderline comedic. It's supposed to be funny. Elijah said I would have my own red flags for that scene. Wow. Yeah. So Infinite storms out, which is fine because this kind of gives him an opportunity to gather his troops outside the castle. So he's kind of doing his thing there. He disappears for a few minutes. So Infinite does what he's ordered to do just to kind of keep the appearance that he's... Elijah quotes Tempest, ugh, castle gods. That's kind of like the canon take. We all feel that way about the castle guards. Like, what good are the castle guards? They don't... They literally stand around and guard the castle, but don't guard the castle. It's like, when have they not fucked up? So that's why Tempest is like, ugh, castle gods. So now we start getting into the nitty-gritty. Like I said, Twilight has this chariot ready. The next scene is we get to the chariot moment where Twilight and Shadow are rounding up the chariot to get the Cutie Mark Crusaders, Spike, Cream, Charmy, to get them out of to get them out of Canterlot, because they want to just make sure that they're not in harm's way of Chrysalis. And they want to make sure that the evacuation goes smoothly. So Twilight gives Ophelia her communicator and says, look, if anything happens, give us a call. Shadow has his communicator. Get in touch with us. If anything happens, Shadow says, yes, and don't try to be a hero, Ophelia. Protect the children and get to safety if you do get an attack. So Ophelia reassures them that everything's fucking fine. I guess being a babysitter could be heroic, whatever. So the chariot, the very last moment before the chariot takes off, we see Twilight tell the Pegasus ponies who are flying this chariot back to Ponyville. She literally says to make sure, drop them off at my castle, please. Again, drop them off at my castle, please. Bad idea, Twilight. It's a bad idea. Bad idea. Oh, I've been known to make bad choices. I always have bad ideas. Then I gotta fix it. Anyway, proceed, Michael. Yes, anyway. Twilight, so Twilight and Shadow go back into the castle. And immediately Twilight is like, what the hell is going on here? Why are there so many ponies still here. And Tempest is like, well, I really don't want to resort to violence, but, Twilight, I may have to resort to physical removal. And Twilight's like, no, I'll handle it. And as Twilight is heading back to the stage to, again, tell all of these lingering ponies to leave, she gets stopped by Princess Celestia. And Celestia tells Twilight, I can confirm that what Starlight said was true. It was magic that shattered Chrysalis's statue. Because think about this. If Chrysalis's statue would have been shattered by any other means, you would probably still see her body parts in there. So the fact that her body parts are not in the stone kind of is a dead giveaway to Princess Celestia. Like, yeah, Starlight's right. She's been released. So as they're freaking out about this, General Diamond from the Crystal Empire has shown up. And he's immediately asking for Sonic. And Sonic flags him down and says, I'm Sonic the Hedgehog. What do you need? And this is where this is where Twilight gets her answer that things are not okay in the Crystal Empire. And that her hunch was right. General Diamond tells Sonic, I have an urgent message from Dr. Eggman. And he hands Sonic like a hologram ball. And he said you'd know what to do with it. So Sonic, pushes the button and sets off this hologram message. And I don't really have to explain much here. Eggman basically tells Sonic that he has taken over the Crystal Empire, that he's absorbed Princesses Cadance and Flurry Heart's magic into his prototype Phantom Rubies. Eggman, knowing from Boku and Deku's research of Equestria, knows about the elements of harmony, and he also knows of the elements of harmony because he found one of the diaries of Princess Soletta in the Equestrian Empire ruins at Mobius. So he is aware fully of the elements of harmony, and knowing that that is one of Equestria's greatest weapons, Eggman tells Sonic, you have 72 hours, Hedgehog, to give me the elements of harmony. Otherwise, Princess Flurry Hearts won't have a mommy any longer. So, typical Eggman wants the elements of harmony. And he's going to barter the princesses in exchange for one of Equestria's best weapons, the elements of harmony. Yeah, 3 days. Yeah, I know. I was originally going to do 48 hours, but somebody criticized me about 48 hours not being enough time. Somebody's like, well, why wouldn't you just say 72 or make it 3 days? Michael Collins. Again, I grow a little weary of people questioning my logics here. Again, the elements of harmony are Equestria's greatest weapon, one of the Equestria's greatest weapons. Eggman knows this. So he wants to take the elements of harmony away from the heroes so they cannot be used against him. He knows he can't use them. So he wants them strictly for the purpose of them not being used against him. He knows he can't use them. He just doesn't want them used against him. So that's why he wants the elements of harmony. He knows they're a weapon that can be used. However, there's this little thing called the harmony drives, and Elijah can explain those a little further down the road. So we're toying with some other things that Eggman can do with these elements of harmony. So there are other reasons. As of right now, Eggman just wants the elements so they aren't a threat on him. Eggman, if I can't have them, neither will you. So basically, Eggman wants the elements of harmony in exchange for the princesses because he knows that they are a great asset against him. So if he has control of the elements of harmony, they can't be used against him, and yada yada. So as Sonic and everybody else are debating whether or not they're going to go up to the Crystal Empire, Sonic tells Shadow, look, Eggman asked for the elements of harmony. I say we give him the elements of harmony. What do you say, girls? Meaning Sonic is going to go up there and give Eggman what he wants, but he's going to use the elements on Eggman. And yeah, he's actually wanting to use the elements on Eggman, which is Sonic's plan. But just as Sonic and the girls were getting ready to leave, that's when Infinite makes his move and insists that the gala is far from over and that the party is just getting started. And that's how the episode ends, with Infinite making his move. Da, da, da. So what will happen in episode 102? We will find out. But that's basically that's the whole episode. I did miss the part about Eggman taking over the Crystal Empire, but again, I'm trying to trying to put these all back together in sequential order in a podcast is rough. And I didn't write anything down today. I didn't. I completely winged it today. So again, this is not my normal setup. I didn't even do the entrance. That is why I do my normal setup, because I have Christmas gifts all over my bed and I didn't want it in the background. So yeah, I've got all kinds of stuff on my bed. Yeah, that's why I didn't do the podcast from my normal angle. So I don't know if you guys have any questions. I'll stick around. Again, I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm tired. I'm burnt out from a busy weekend. There are certain aspects about the series that that upset me. I will say this, moving forward, I've got a lot of issues with people. Oh, the harmony drives. Oh yeah, Elijah's offering to answer whatever questions he can about the harmony drives, which that's from a whole other fandom that Elijah's a part of. But nevertheless, I do like the idea of the harmony drives. I do like that idea. It's just a matter of, again, executing it. So, yeah. Michael Collins says, what have you been up to tonight? I don't know if he's talking to me or Elijah in general. But no, I've just been busy with holiday stuff. Obviously, Thanksgiving was Thursday. I did a lot of driving. I spent probably $1,500 this weekend on Christmas. So luckily, like I said, it was money I already had set aside in a work savings account. So that has added up over 2 years, and I had more than enough. So no worries on that. The last couple of years, I haven't really been able to afford good Christmases and whatnot because of just financial trouble, of being tight financially, whatever. But this year, yeah, we're doing a big Christmas. So I went out shopping probably 7 hours on Friday, Black Friday shopping. I was out for a good 7 hours, almost 8 hours, just shopping, and had lunch. Yesterday, and then on Friday night I got home. I watched SmackDown, and then we got the episode Friday night. Yesterday I watched Tennessee. My Vols, baby. My Tennessee Vols clinch a playoff spot, baby. They're in the playoffs. Whoop, whoop. So I watched that. And then as soon as that game got over, like an hour and a half later, WWE Survivor Series War Games started. So then I watched that. And before I could blink an eye, it was 8 o'clock at night. I debated on doing a podcast, but then I realized, you know what? I'm flipping exhausted. I wound up watching the wrestling podcast after the show had ended. And that went to that went to about 11:30 midnight. Then I went to bed at around midnight last night. Got about 8 hours of sleep, and now here we are. So it's been it's been a busy weekend. I hope you guys all had a great Thanksgiving with your family. Hopefully, Elijah, you were able to enjoy it. I know Walmart. I know Walmart had a lot of their displays set up Wednesday night, because I stopped in at Walmart on Wednesday over here because I had to cook. I made salad for my mom's house. So I made like a pasta salad. So I saw everything set up. So hopefully you got to enjoy your Thanksgiving with your family before you had to go in for Black Friday. So Black Friday shopping was nuts. Not so much. Target was the worst. Target was a nut house. Like, line wrapped all the way around the front, like halfway down the store. Yeah, Target was nuts. Nuts. I could not believe how busy Target was. Well, I could believe it, but again, I wasn't expecting. It was to the point where I could barely walk through the store at Target. So it was interesting. This is only like the second time I've ever done Black Friday shopping on a Black Friday. My current job, I actually have Black Friday off, whereas my job that I had 4 years ago or 3 years ago, we always worked on Black Friday. So I never really got to experience Black Friday. Oh my God. Elijah says they had 1,400 customers in the first half hour of opening on Black Friday. Holy shit. That's about how many people were at Target when I had gotten there. And Target was my second store. And I drove to Bloomington, which is like where I work. I work in Bloomington and live in Pekin. So it literally took me like 40 minutes to get there. And I had already done some shopping at the Walmart here in Pekin. So by the time I had gotten out to Bloomington, it was about 11:30. And oh my goodness, I could not believe the amount of people walking in or in that store. It was, yeah, you could barely get a cart through there. And it's a super Target. It's one of those massive Targets. Like a super Target. So yeah, it was packed. Like, that store was insane. But yeah, I ate a lot of good food. Yeah, it was a good holiday for me. So hopefully you all enjoyed the holiday weekend. If you're an American, Thanksgiving. Yep. Hopefully you all enjoyed the Thanksgiving holiday. If you guys did Black Friday shopping, hopefully you guys were able to get everything you needed. I'm gonna cut out and the kingdom and the podcast now. Unless you guys had anything else you guys wanted to say, now's the time. Other than that, guys, I'm back to the point I was trying to make. There are two things that like really agitate me when it comes to YouTube. Two things. One of the things is, okay, you guys got to remember, Sonic MLP is an alternate AU. So not everything is going to be 100% canon. Um, it's not. So when you guys sometimes question some of the canonality or however you guys want to word it, it does get frustrating because it's like I do try to stay as canon as possible. Um, one of the other things that really upset me, and I have to bring it up because it does affect my mental state and it does affect whether or not I want to do a podcast because one of the things, and I'm gonna tell you guys this from a fan's perspective. Okay. I'm a creator. So I know what creators have to go through to produce their YouTube stuff. A lot of you guys forget that a lot of us are not getting paid for this. So this is a hobby for me. Right now, I'm working 50 to 60 hours a week, depending on whether or not I'm working on Saturdays. I also have a life outside of YouTube. You know, I have children that I would like to see at least on a Sunday because that's my guaranteed day off. I never know if I'm working a Saturday until Thursday afternoon. They have to tell us by lunchtime Thursday afternoon. So I never know. Like as of right now, I'm supposed to be off on Saturday. They can change their mind at any time during this week up until lunchtime Thursday. My point being is the reason why a lot of YouTubers quit YouTube is when they get asked, when's the next episode? When's the next episode? When's the next episode? Stop. Stop. We all have lives. Try again. I'm not getting home lately till almost 7 o'clock at night. I have to cook. And there are also things that I like to do at my own time while I'm eating, like watch wrestling, watch a TV show, watch one of my sports teams. By the time I get home, cook dinner, eat dinner, 9 o'clock. Usually it's 8:30, 9 o'clock. I get up at 4:30 in the morning. I now have to shower and go to bed. I can't not tell you how many times I have sat and turned this computer on at 10 o'clock at night just to do 2 hours worth of typing. And I can't do it because I'm exhausted or I can't think of anything to write because it's been so long since I've written. I don't remember where I am. So I got to go back and reread some of the stuff that I've done because I don't want to repeat anything. It's one of the reasons why I really didn't want to do the podcast tonight because I'm kind of at my wit's end with YouTube right now. And trying to squeeze it in, it's ridiculous. And look at what Plus just said. Crossbreak Studios. The people that literally have the best looking Sonic MLP series, the newest one, the one that just came out, they are already having people that are just. If you're not a creator, you don't get it. A lot of us, we don't get paid for this. So we have real lives outside of YouTube. So for me to sit there and answer questions about when the next episode is coming out, I don't know. I go 3 or 4 weeks without working on it because I just don't have the time. I don't get paid for YouTube. I get paid working a normal job. And that job sometimes constitute me working a 60-hour week. That's my only thing. And it's just a respect thing. I wish I could tell you guys when the next episode is coming out. I wish I could, but this episode took forever. I started writing this episode in August, and it just now came out And it's December 1st. This episode took me 4 months. And compared to some of the other things like Crossbreak Studios, where they literally animate their stuff, they have pictures for every scene, voice actors. I can't imagine how long one episode for them takes. And literally, I'm writing this by myself. I'm producing it, and then I got to send my voice actors all their lines. So it does take time. I wish I could tell you guys exactly when, but I don't even know when the next time I'm going to work on the series is. Like I was going to work on it tonight, and it's now 10 o'clock my time. If anything, I might work on it for 2 hours and then go to bed. Because I have some stuff written in my notebook. I try to write while I'm at work, while I have downtime. But lately, it's been so busy, I haven't had downtime. They're pushing major production, so I don't have the time to write, even at work. And I agree. Burnout is why I don't stick to a schedule and just upload whenever. And that's what it is. That's why when I took a break after season 3, that's why I took a break that's why season 4 didn't start until the end of summer, like officially with the third episode. Because I was trying to get as many episodes done as I could. But again, there was drama in my server behind the scenes with the series that kind of led to, again, okay, I got to put everything on hold until we figure this out. So, it is what it is. I don't want to come on here and vent, but I feel like you guys do need to understand some of this stuff. Nothing frustrates me than not getting these episodes out on a timely manner. I get frustrated because I would love to work on it and focus my time on it because it is a hobby that I love to do. I love entertaining you guys. But even I'm frustrated because I don't have the time I want to work on it. I don't. So, I mean, that's it. That's all I got, guys. That's all I got. Elijah says, I'm not a creator yet. I understand that frustration. Yeah. We love doing it. It's just patience. Believe me, I would love to have an episode out every week. I would love to. But again, this is a hobby. I am not getting paid for it. I got work. But that's all I got, guys. If there's anything that you guys want to say, I'm up through the opening credits on episode 102. That's what I'll say. So I've got the prior episode done, and the very opening scene of 102 is done. I'm just past the opening credits as far as my writing and what's in my computer. I'm literally in the first scene past the opening credits. And I want to say I started writing this episode maybe the first week of November. Yeah. So it just goes to show you how little time I've had. Anyway, guys, we are into the holiday season. And I want to wish you guys happy and safe holidays. I do have an update on the reboot episode, which is episode 10. The name of the episode is the Cutie Mark Hedgehogs. And in case you guys are wondering, the Cutie Mark Hedgehogs, it's the episode in which we find out the big secret. So that episode can be out anytime over the next, it could be out anytime this week. It might be out next week. I still have voicing to do. It's literally, I would say, if I had to guess, I've got about anywhere between 10 and 15 slides left to voice for that. So I'm definitely going to say Reboot episode 10 is going to be the next released episode that you guys get, for sure. That's really the only update I got. I gave you guys a brief one on 102. Like I said, I started it the first week of November, and I'm just now getting past the opening credits in the opening scene there. So mainly because I was working on episode 101 really hard. Like Elijah will tell you, I've been working on it as much as possible, getting the voices in over the last 3.5 weeks. I've been literally coming home and working on it an hour here, 2 hours there, just to get the voices in and do the production aspect. It's been a very slow process, but yeah, that's the update I got. Again, I want you guys to have a safe holiday season. Whether you celebrate Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, Christmas, New Year's, be safe as we go into the holiday season, guys. I will let you know, Elijah. You know that. Other than that, guys, that's all I got tonight. It's getting late, and I got to start winding down and getting ready for bed for work. That's all the time we got tonight, guys, for the Kingdom. Episode 101's review is behind us. I don't know. I would like to do a normal podcast, like when we do the music. If anything, the next, maybe with the reboot episode 10, we'll have like a Christmas themed Kingdom. I'll have my tree up in the living room by then. So maybe we do the podcast out in the living room in front of the tree. So anyway, that's all I got tonight, guys. Be safe. Thank you guys for your continued support of the series. I'm sorry, again, I cannot get these episodes out any quicker. But again, I never know what to answer when you guys ask me when is the next episode, because I don't answer it no more, because I really don't. I don't know. I don't. All right, guys. Michael Evans. See you guys next time. Be safe out there.